Welcome to the podcast, The First Generation Mindset. Today, I have Jason Lee here with us, and he is going to be sharing with us what he has done over the years to transform not just his life, but people around him. Jason is based out of San Diego, and he is highly successful, well-known real estate agent. He specializes in multifamily real estate industry, and over the last 2 years, he has helped hundreds of investors make the right financial decision. He has done transactions worth over $250,000 the last couple of years. He also personally manages over $40 million portfolio of real estate. One of the core things that Jason believes is that success is not a simpler, linear concept. Back in the day, we would say you got to go to school, get a good job, work hard, and get a good salary. Eventually, you want to retire at 65. That's a big shakedown Jason believes in. He believes in getting out. Jason, I'm super excited to have you on this podcast. Share with us, my friend, what your background has been. We want to hear your story today, Jason.
Yeah, Kunal, thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on. To kind of kick off my story, I come from a humble background. My dad was in the U.S. Army, and he was stationed in South Korea at a naval base out there. And he actually met my mom out there while he was stationed, and she spoke no English. She lived in Korea her whole life, and then they had me, and we were there for the first 7 years of my life, and then we moved back to the United States here in California. I'm in San Diego now, but back then we moved up in a small town in Northern California, up in the Bay Area, near San Francisco and Oakland. And my parents was the typical lower to middle class family that struggled with money. Some years got really bad where we defaulted on our mortgage, struggled to, pay for enough food for the family of four, my brother and I and our parents. And I think as a child that caused a lot of trauma about money inside of me. And I never wanted to experience that again for my future family, and more so my current family. I wanted to give back to them. So my mom actually wanted me to be a doctor, of course, typical Asian parents, right? Your mom wants me to be a doctor. And I was going to, she made that decision for me in high school. And when I was a junior in college, I eventually hit a breaking point at San Diego State University. And even though I was doing very well in school, I was spending all my hours in the library. I was very stressed. I hated every moment of studying science. So the class that actually broke me was organic chemistry. If you've ever taken that class, it's the worst class in the world, in my opinion. But anyways, long story short, after that, I changed my major without telling my parents to communication. And I got into real estate because I saw that the wealthiest friends that I had at school, their parents had rental properties or were some way in the real estate business. So I thought there was something there, and I went into the real estate business, dove in head first, and here we are today. That's kind of how my career started. First year, I made no money. 2018, when I started, I made zero money. I started in commercial real estate right away as an intern, slamming cold calls at least 10 to 12 hours a day while going to school full time, making no money. I had a second job to support myself while I was going to school. And I was drowning in over $35,000 worth of debt, but I kept at it, didn't quit, almost quit at one point. And then 2019 through now, we've sold over 250 million and have a pretty decent sized portfolio here in San Diego.
Fantastic. What a great story. So it's just been about 4 to 5 years since you got your license, and to be a top producing commercial agent dealing with investors, multifamily is incredible. So thanks for sharing that. And a few things that you shared on this call this morning, Jason, was your mom and your family is from Asia, from Korea. I'm originally from India. And Asian parents, they say you got to be a doctor, you got to be an engineer, and you get groomed into following the path of success that they think is the only way to be successful. Now, if I was in India or I was in Asia, potentially I may have had no choice to pick those paths of success. But you're so correct. When you live in the land of opportunity, which is America, I truly believe if you want long-term financial freedom, the only way of getting that is to have certain mindset, having a real estate portfolio, whether you're buying it for yourself or for your clients or for your investors, that's the key. So you shared in 2018, you had no production, no success, you were down in debt. So how did you go past the first year? Because a lot of realtors who get the license, they make and break within the first 12 months. And when they don't make good amount of money, they quit. What kept you going, Jason?
I think what really kept me going was that at my company, there was 25 other commercial agents, and at least 5 or 10 of them were doing extremely well, making multiple 6 to 7 figures a year. I had a really good mentor. My partner, I mean, the company that I was at, the CEO and his partner were basically the people who were teaching me the business. And even though times got rough, even though I doubted myself, had stress, anxiety of making my first paycheck, my first commission, they kind of just kept uplifting me, telling me that I was doing the right things, that you're going to get close. There's countless people who have done this in the past. So you're taking the same path they're taking, and we can see that you'll be successful. So I think having a good support team around me and seeing other people be successful was really critical. I think it's really tough, being a single parent or working at home by yourself, and you don't see like that collaborative team environment. And it can get very easy to get down on yourself when you are by yourself or a solo agent and you have no really influence or people around you that will also help support you in the hardest year of your real estate career, which is your first 12 months. So
when was that you got the first big break in the business, Jason?
That's a great question, Kunal. I think my first big break in the business happened right after when I almost quit. So the first listing I got was 6 months into my career. It was a little fourplex for about $800,000 in a Class C location of San Diego. And I got the listing. I was on top of the world. And the next day I get a phone call from my broker saying that the owner unexpectedly passed away and the property is going into probate. And basically that means the property is now controlled by the state because there's no trust for the family or the heirs. And it takes at least 1 to 2 years for a probate attorney to get it out of probate. So that really sucked. And that day I almost quit. I told myself, this isn't for me. My parents are right. I got to go get a real job. And for some reason, I got out of bed the next day and didn't quit, just kept going, did the same things. My gut kind of told me that I was so close that I kind of had the confidence now to get my first deal. And the next month, I got 2 deals in escrow. And then the month after that, I got 3 deals in escrow before I graduated college. So that was probably the first big break when I actually started believing in myself that this was actually real, that it could actually happen.
So that one instant, the first big listing you get, and within 24 hours, that dream is squashed by the unfortunate news of your seller, passing away. But you kept going. And now when you look back and look at your last 4 years of journey where you're doing millions of transactions every year, if somebody was new in the business, what would you tell them today, Jason?
I would tell them that success and failure live right next to each other. And if you just keep going, and if you think of all your failures as lessons, learning lessons in life and in business, if you carry that mindset with you, you can't fail. Because if you keep going, even if you get knocked down 10 times in a row, you go on 10 appointments and you get knocked down every single time, appointment 11 could be a $5 million listing. So I think that just having that mindset to never stop growing, to keep going no matter what happens, and that failure only occurs the moment you stop trying, is the best piece of advice I can give for someone who's new in any business.
Great. Do you mind sharing with me, what's your long-term vision, Jason?
Oh man, I'd love to hear yours as well. This question I don't really get too much, but I think it's a great question. I need to think about it more, but I think my 5 to 10 year vision is I want to have a family. I want to have a good group of friends around me, good relationships that kind of carry forward and have the same goal towards. Kind of building that right now. Built a solid team around me of young guys in the business who are great friends and also teammates in the business. So definitely want to keep that going as well. I really like uplifting the people around me, and I really think that relationships are a lot more important than the actual dollar signs. So But other than that, I want to keep growing the real estate portfolio. I really want to grow the cash flow, the passive income, because I know that life is short and life isn't all about work. So I want to have more time to spend with my future kids and my future family. What about you?
I'll share that with you. Do you mind also sharing with me what's your financial goal for the next 5 or 10 years?
Financial goal. I really don't have one, but if I'm, if I'm making, multiple six figures a year in cash flow, I'll be pretty happy.
Excellent. So I'm happy to share with you what my vision, what my goal is, but let me give you my background where I got into business in real estate in 2014 as a full-time realtor. Prior to that, I was in corporate America, worked for a consulting company, worked in oil and gas. And I was done allowing somebody else to control my future, my success. Because when I work for someone, when I get my pay raise, when I get my promotion, whether I have a job or I don't have a job, is never in my control. And I was done living somebody else's vision of success. 2014, left corporate America, got in the business. My team is based out of Houston, Texas. So over the years, now Houston has a lot of realtors. We have 40 to 50,000 licensed agents. Getting a license is relatively easy. I want to create a niche for myself, but create a certain brand name that was leading the market, but adding value to the industry, adding value to the customers or my industry partners. So Houston has a lot of new construction builders over here. And some name brands are national, some are statewide. And when I was brand new agent, Jason, I case studied all the top brokers, realtors in my market. And that one thing in common, they had preferred status with builders. So a buyer goes into a sales office, wants to buy a home. They're not working with the realtor. They would say, call one of our preferred partners. I said, I want a piece of that action. But getting that, which was my ask, was not going to be straightforward because I was a brand new agent. So what I do on a daily basis, Jason, I lead by adding value. I got to be clear about my vision, lead by value, and then comes the ask. So what I did in the first year was I added a lot of value to these builders by selling the product line, learning the floor plans, training the team how to work with international buyers. I had a lot of value. And in time, builders like Taylor Morrison Home, Darling Home, and a few other ones made my team preferred with them, which got a lot of business coming my way. So in 2014, my team did about 28 million sales volume. 2018, we did about 68 million. 2020, we did 121 million. 2021, we did 151 million. And this past year in 2022, my team closed about 120 million in sales volume and about 315 units. So we do a lot of production success. But going back to my foundation, I came to this country 20 years back. You came here when you were 7 years old. I'm not going to take any day or any opportunity for granted. This is where me to be driven by my vision is really critical. So to answer your question directly, my vision is to leave a legacy of impact for my kids, for my grandkids, for next few generations. While I can sell a home today, earn commission, pay my bills, live a lifestyle that I want to achieve today, but it's not sustainable when I'm just selling homes and doing transactions. Because at some point of time, you and I are going to be 60 or 80-year-old, and we may not have the health or mindset to chase deals. So on a daily basis, I determine my long-term path of success by involving myself with organizations, with community, with different organizations to help them be more successful. My vision is if I help add value to the market, whether it's my builder partners or other entrepreneurs, in time, I'll get success. Financial goals in 2021, I share with my organization that consistently, instead of producing from 120 to 150 to 180 to 200 million, every year I want my team to close a minimum $100 million in sales volume. That I'll maintain no matter what. But I want to create other income opportunities that far exceed my lifestyle expenses. And that's the big picture of I can sell 100 homes or 400 homes. It's not as much relevance. But when I'm living my life with my family and kids, I want to have a lifestyle that can sustain by creating passive income opportunity. So over the years, yes, my team has done a lot of business, but I'm pivoting more towards being a coach, being a mentor, being a guide to other people. And what you see behind me, the first generation mindset, which is all about taking nothing for granted. I was not a US citizen by birth. I came to US on student visa, then work permit, then green card, then citizenship. Most people take that for granted. When I was in corporate America, having a job, getting paid days off, you take for granted. Now, when you're self-employed, you take a day off when you want to take a day off. You can take a week off or a month off. So through this concept, first generation mindset, I coach, train, mentor people that they all got to have clarity of their vision in life. They got to be clear about what value they're bringing to the market, to their team, to the employees, or to their customers. And then comes the ask. The ask could be, would you work with me as an investor? Would you buy a home? Would you join my team? So it's vision, value, ask. Was I able to answer your question, Jason?
Yeah, solid. I love it.
So that's my long-term vision. I guess share with me, when you are prospecting investors, how do you put your value across to them? Because you're relatively young, relatively new in the business, and there are realtors in your market who've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. How do you go head to head against them, Jason?
I think the way I've stood out from a lot of the commercial real estate brokers who've been doing this for over 20 years is that I have a lot of inventory. So I have a lot of properties that are available that are coming soon that I know that are coming on the market, but I call people before it comes live because that adds a lot of value to an investor if they can look at a property before it actually hits the MLS or LoopNet or Costar. So not a lot of people play the off-market field in my business. So a lot of people, want to get that listing, want to get their name out there. But the way I've kind of stood out is by really going all in on the off-market niche where I talk to a seller that is private, doesn't want anyone disturbing their tenants. They don't want anyone seeing their properties for sale, but they say, I'll take a certain price for it and I'll pitch it to some investors that I've talked to in the past, and maybe I'll get a deal done. So that's how half my deals are done. And that's how I started. But now that I have a good reputation, I have over 130 deals under my belt, I can actually go to meetings now and say, here's what we've done. We've competed with all the bigger brokerages, and this is the value I add. Our marketing is really, really good. So now I'm on the same playing field as them. But when I first started, I had to really add value in a specific way that most other people weren't in the business as a new young gun coming in.
Love it. And how do you find these sellers? Do you just go door knocking to businesses? Do you cold call? What do you do, Jason?
Yeah, both. It's been a mix, but honestly, when I first started, it was mostly cold calling. It was mostly just getting on the phones, getting a list of property owners, and just calling the public data out there and seeing if we can get someone. I mean, I'd say like 8 out of 10 numbers that I called were stale or dead numbers. Emailing worked great, like cold emails, trying to find their emails for their business online and shooting them an email on how I could maybe help them or service them was great too. But yeah, just direct outreach every single day.
And do you have a team? Do you do everything on your own? What's your setup, Jason?
Yeah, so I actually hired a team very recently. So I branched out on my own about a year and a half ago. And that's when I started building my team. I wanted to not be a solopreneur. I wanted to have a team around me and create good relationships and a great company culture. And I've had so much more fun doing that, collaborating and teaching the younger students, younger brokers, agents in the business. So so last year I started with 2 agents under me, and then now we're up to a total of about 10 of us all together. And, everyone's friends, everyone, loves what we do. We're all very collaborative. A lot of the corporate cultures out there, it's kind of a dog eat dog world where like you go to the bathroom and you got to lock your door or else someone's going to steal your leads. That's your competitor in your own office. So the commercial real estate world is really a cutthroat industry. And I kind of wanted to do the opposite of what I heard most people were doing. I know a lot of people in commercial real estate, they basically hire you, they throw you a list and they say, good luck. When you find a lead, come talk to me. If not, leave me alone. So I kind of took the opposite approach and it's worked really well.
Fantastic. Do you mind sharing with me your best success story from a cold call? What came out of it? What was the client and what did you do about with that client?
Yeah. I took one call and I basically asked that client if they were looking to buy more properties in the area. I saw that he was pretty actively buying properties in a certain location in San Diego. And I called him up and pitched him a deal that I had for sale coming up, my new listing. and he wasn't interested, but he said he'd look at other deals I had. And I kept emailing him properties and finally found one he liked, built a great relationship. And I've sold him at least 10 other properties, been one of my best clients. And we even partnered together and bought a bunch of properties together as well, after we kind of built that relationship and had good synergy and could really add value to each other in different ways. Which really, adding value in different ways and having different skill sets is what creates a great partnership. So,
And this was from a cold call, picking up the
yep.
phone, calling someone random.
Yeah, out of the blue, calling someone randomly. You never know what can happen from just picking up the phone.
And that's fantastic. See, what you did share right now was when you call this person, you were just not just calling him to get his business, but to add value to him. I have something in my portfolio that's not on the market. Would you want to hear about? Well, not that one, but let me see what else you have. And you kept giving him information about future listings that are going to come on the market. And eventually he found something which clicked for him. So you wanted his business, you want to get financial success from him. But if you had just led by, hey, can I help you close a deal? He wouldn't have talked to you, but you were leading with value. And most people, especially in a business, do not do that. They go for the straight ask. Hey, I'm a commercial agent. I'm a residential agent. Can I help you buy or sell a deal? So fantastic over there. I know you mentioned, you don't have family or kids, but long term, would you want your kids to be in the business, Jason?
Oh, wow. I would only if I would never force it upon them. I never want to be a parent that forces my kid to do something. So if they had genuine interest on their own and they got excited about it, then yes, it'd be great if that's what they want to do. But if they were put on this world to do something else, then no, it's totally fine.
So you won't do what your mom wanted you to do to be a doctor. You will not wait for your kid to go to organic chemistry class to have a breakthrough. You let them lead their own way.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to guide them down a path that I think that's good for them. But if they say this isn't for me, then whatever. It is what it is.
I think you're so right, Jason, over here. One is about your profession, your license, or your degree to do something. And the other one is what you really want to do, what you're passionate about. And that's two different things. I have a degree, I have a master's degree in information systems. I have a certified internal auditor. I have all of those degrees in education, which was leading me a path of success, which had a finite timeline and finite growth potential. Now, I have two boys, 7 and 8. Now, whether they get a license to be a realtor or not, that's to be determined. But one way or the other, I'll have them stay engaged in the real estate business, whether they're buying a home, selling a home, buying the investment portfolio, they got to be somehow involved in that. And that's what really I want to highlight to the listeners today, that no matter what profession you're in, whether you are an accountant, whether you are an architect, but having interest in real estate only brings you long-term financial success. Most people who are born, raised over here, when they get the first job, they go spend the money, buy the nicest car, live in the nicest apartment, and do the nicest things, and spend the money there. When I first got my job, when I was 21 years old, and I moved from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, LSU, to Houston to work for Deloitte, the first thing I did was, at 21 years old, I bought a home. It was a $160,000 home, 4 bedrooms, had 3 buddies from my college who also moved to Houston, gave them a room each. They would pay me rent every month. I would take their money, pay my mortgage. They were my roommates for almost 8, 9 years. Once I got married, I kicked them out. And then over the years, I've built a portfolio of investment homes and strategies because I believe in long-term success that comes from owning real estate. So I love what you shared. You will let your future kids, to empower them to follow the dream where they want to be at. But what you're doing today is you're influencing people make the right financial decision in real estate. And that influencing part, adding value, is the key that, when it's instilled correctly in our next generation, that's when, it comes about the first generation mindset. You and I had a different mindset when you were born in Asia, but then we had to set ourselves up. Being the first one in your family to be a realtor, I'm sure your mom and dad said, are you sure, Jason? You're going to fail. You're going to fail because nobody does that, correct? Even back at home, India, people don't look up to realtors. They look down at them. So I went through the same uphill battle, but then I was so convinced with my own drive and passion. I said, you know what? I'm going to do what I really want to do.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because when I first told my parents that I was going to, quit my doctorate medical route to become commercial real estate agent, they were infuriated. They were so pissed off. And I remember the first 6 months I was licensed and working in my old company, my mom would send me like 2 or 3 listings on Indeed every single week via email and text saying, here's a real job with a real salary. This would be a great starting job, before you go to medical school. This will help support you. This is a great, out of college job, first year. And I was just like, man, I need to just cut you off for like just 6 months. And I promise you'll see what happens. So yeah, it was crazy.
And nothing against your mom or my parents or parents from Asia. This is how they're groomed. They're groomed to play it safe. Even today back at home, if you have a federal job or state job, that's the thing that people aspire for because it's steady income for the rest of your life with benefits. But if I'm in the land of opportunity in America, I'm not going to play it safe. I didn't come to this country just to be someone else's platform to make the vision accomplished. No, I'm going to do what I take. So what is your mom saying now? Is she proud of you now, Jason? What does she say?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, 100%. I kind of came back full circle the past couple Christmases. I gave her, several thousands of dollars, like for a check to help like pay her back. Like, this is what, my college career costed. This is what, growing up, what you had to pay for me. I knew I was a problem child. So the reason why I was so excited to get into real estate is because I knew I could make a lot of money and I wanted to make a lot of money to give back to my mom. So I came back full circle, ended up, really making her proud, and she really saw the fruits of my labor. So we're definitely in a great place now.
Fantastic, Jason. Before we wrap up this podcast today, any piece of advice or anything that you want to share with the listeners today?
Yeah, I would just say, don't let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do. I think if I would have let that stop me, friends, family, peers say that I'm taking too much of a risk, that I'm reckless, that I should really slow down, I wouldn't be here talking to you today about this stuff. So I really think that my life could have been a lot different if I listened to all the people that were kind of resisting my growth. So I think if you have a big goal, big dreams, it takes time, but if you are consistent and you work every single day at it, there's no reason you won't be successful. You'll be successful no matter what, unless you quit. So I really think that that's the one takeaway I'd like the listener to take from this podcast.
Fantastic. If somebody is in your local market and wants to be in the business, wants to join a real estate company or be a commercial agent, are you looking to hire people? Are you looking to train people? Is that something you're looking for, Jason?
Right now we're at capacity. Our office is full, but maybe in like 6 months to a year, might add 1 or 2 more people. We might move offices in about a year or so. So yes, sometime around then, but in the future for sure.
Would you want to share the contact information with the listeners today, Jason?
Yeah, easiest way to reach me is I'm very active on Instagram and YouTube. Both the handles are my full name, Jason Joseph Lee. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Jason, was super awesome having you on the show today. I love hearing about your story. Born in Korea, moved here when you were 7-year-old, came from a typical Asian household where your mom thought the best way to get success in life is to follow the path of least risk, which is be a medical doctor. But this organic chemistry class was a straw that broke your back and you got your license, be in the business for 4 to 5 years, and your success is incredible. Super proud of what you accomplished today, Jason, and looking forward to seeing you further grow in your life, Jason.
Thank you, Kunal. It was great meeting you today.
Thank you.